2 weeks ago, I guess, I was with Congressman Lewis, and for the first time in my life, I walked across the Edmund Pettus Bridge. And what struck me is that as you get to the top of that bridge, how much you could see and how much further there was before you ran into those Alabama state troopers. And it struck me because my first thought was, well, I need to turn around. And I wondered, how do you deal with fear? How do you deal with the comrades who were lost, the violence that you suffered on Bloody Sunday? How do you, as individuals, how does the movement deal with that pressure and that fear?
Well, you grow, you come to that point in your life. You have what I call an executive session with yourself. Just don't talk back to yourself. And you say, I'm not going to be afraid. I'm not afraid. I am not afraid. Back in 1961, when we went on the Freedom Ride, when those of us left Nashville, or when we left Washington on May 4th, 1961, the same year that President Obama was born, we were prepared to die. Some of us signed notes and wills that if it took our death, as Dr. King would say, to redeem the soul of America, I think some of us were prepared. I thought I was going to die on that bridge. I thought I was so deaf, but I was not afraid. You have to continue to move on. You get beaten, you get arrested, you get thrown in jail, but maybe you will survive.
But you know, I think, unfortunately, I'm not a sadist, but probably the hour that I am most thrilled about in the civil rights movement was when I got beat up in St. Augustine. Because I'd been the negotiator, I'd been the behind the scenes guy. I wasn't allowed to go to jail, you know? And all of a sudden, here I am, Dr. King sends me to St. Augustine to stop the demonstration. And I get there, and Hosea Williams says, who's going to lead this march with Andrew Young? And they were all ready to march, and so I had seen, you know, a couple of hundred Klansmen out there in the old slave market, and I said, well, I better lead them, and then I can turn them around. When they see what I saw, they won't mind turning around. Except we got there, and they saw, and I got them in a circle, and we prayed, and I said, nobody needs to go. Dr. King said we should, and somebody started singing, be not dismayed, whate'er betide, God will take care of you. And everybody wanted to go down there and march. And I said, oh, Lord. But to keep everybody from getting beat up, I kept them on one side of the street, and I went across to try to reason with unreasonable people. But I was doing pretty good until somebody, you know, hit me from the back with a blackjack. And then I didn't know anything, you know, except that somebody was picking me up, and I said, no, we can't stop now, we have to go on. And finally we walked on through, but it was almost 40 years later before I saw the pictures, you know, of what happened. And but that night I felt good. I felt like, you know, playing football, you run into the line, you get clobbered, and you get up, and you try it off the next side next time. And it was not frightening, though the policeman who pulled me out said that if he hadn't, they would have probably killed me.
Julian, what about you?
None of these things ever happened to me. I've found myself on occasion in places where I thought something bad might happen, but it never did, never hit, never struck. So I had none of these experiences.
But you still have to find ways to deal with your fears.
Yes, and generally it was to say, well, he's doing it, and she's doing it, so why can't I do it?